let's get started because it's 1:03. Just so everybody's aware, this is being recorded. If you're okay with that, then please let me see your shining faces. If not, feel free to turn off your camera. That's totally acceptable. And what we're going to talk about today is the eclipse. So this is Eclipse 101. Hi. If you don't know me, my name is Chris Dorman. I'm the STEM librarian for the Maine State Library. Pronouns are she, her. And if you weren't all aware, I am obsessed with Halloween. It is my favorite holiday. I'm not proud of this. I have two 12-foot skeletons, Earl and Elvira. Earl stays up all year long and gets decorated for fun holidays like International Toast Day. And I have a full setup with a smoke screen, and it's ridiculous. I am ridiculous. So the biggest thing is when and where. April 8th, 2024, we're going to get the first total eclipse since I can't even remember. I had the date, but it's been a long time since we've had a full eclipse. And if anybody has talked to me in the last 2 years, I'm a little excited. I've been a little excited. I'm still a little excited. This is going to be kind of the chance of a lifetime. So if you have the chance to get outside, whether you're in the path of totality or not, please, by all means, do that, because it's gonna be cool. It's a once in a lifetime experience. So what's an eclipse? This is a partial eclipse. We're actually going to get one of these Saturday is the 14th, I think. There's actually going to be a partial eclipse because there's an eclipse that goes straight down over Texas. There is actually one town in Texas that gets 2 full eclipses this year, and it's the coolest thing ever. So they're going to get a partial. We're going to get a little bit of it. I honestly don't know if we'll be able to see any of it because it's so far away, but there is the partial eclipse. There's also an annular eclipse. Now, an annular eclipse is a little different. And the reason this is different is that the moon is very, very far away from us, from Earth, so it actually can't block out the entirety of the sun. So that's why we get that cool little ring, and that's called an annular eclipse. And then, of course, the coolest one, they're not all amazing, the coolest one is going to be the total eclipse, and that's where the moon is at the right distance from the Earth so that it completely blocks out the sun's light, and what you get left is this little white ring, and that's actually called the corona. And for some reason, it's also the hottest part of the sun, and scientists still don't know why. There's actually currently a satellite that they are orbiting the sun with, and they're finding out some amazing information. It actually just got hit with, it's not a parabola. It does start with P though, and I can't remember the name. It's not a projectile. Either way, it got hit basically by a big solar flare and survived, which again is kind of cool. We made something that survives a solar flare. So 3 types. You have a partial, you have a annular, which is the ring, and then you have a total. And the total is what we're going to get on the 8th. I couldn't help it. It was such a cute picture. So basically what happens is when you get a solar eclipse, the moon gets in the way of sun, and as you can see, this spot here, wherever it goes, as the Earth rotates, that is going to be the spot where it's going to get completely dark. The birds are going to get quiet. The temperature is going to change. Amazing things happen. It doesn't just get dark. And if you get the partial, that means that there's actually an imaginary line from here down, if you can imagine that. And that imaginary line actually is where you get the partial. you can actually see the imaginary line. I wish there was a way to slow down GIFs because it's such a good animation, but you only see the itty bitty totality and the partial just for a split second. And it makes me upset. And if my audio gets weird or everything starts to get glitchy, please let me know. My computer is yelling at me right now. So we'll see what happens. All right. So lunar eclipse. It's like a solar eclipse. Except instead of blocking out the sun, we're blocking out light to the moon. Now, most people, like, lunar eclipses happen all the time. But the reason that the moon doesn't disappear, anybody have any ideas? Solar eclipse, when we get totality, we lose the sun. Like, it goes completely dark. But why is it when we have a lunar eclipse where the Earth blocks the moon, why do we still see the moon? Reflection. Any other ideas? Feel free either chat or unmute. So if you think about it, the size, it is 100% the size. The Earth, with the way the Earth and the moon are in orbit, the Earth can't actually block out all of the sun's rays, because if you look, like, the sun is huge. This is an accurate representation of the size of the sun versus the size of all of the planets. That big yellow thing, that's the size of the sun. And then if you look at Jupiter and Saturn, and like Earth is down here. So Earth just can't block out all of the sun's rays, which is why we can still see the moon. It just goes weird and gets a funny color. Solar eclipse is what we're going to get in April, and that is when the moon is at the perfect distance from the Earth. And because it's orbital, like our orbit's a little weird and kind of egg-shaped, it'll get in the perfect line, and that's where we get the solar eclipse. If this happens, I mean, yeah. We hope this doesn't happen, because this would be bad. So we have the lunar eclipse, where the Earth blocks the sun from the moon, and we have a solar eclipse because the moon blocks the sun rays from the Earth. And then if somehow the sun gets in between us and the moon, well, we're gonna be crispy. All right, be prepared before the eclipse. Things that you need to do. 1, if you are on the path of totality, or if you're in the path of the partial, things you should do. Do you have glasses? If you don't have glasses, that's okay. If you have the funds or the ability to find some free ones or maybe some donations, you should get some glasses. Do you need glasses? No, there are plenty of ways to watch an eclipse that are safe for you that don't involve glasses. So just be aware. Because again, if you don't have glasses, you should get some glasses. And if you think you have enough glasses, maybe you should get some glasses. And if you're not sure that you have enough glasses, you should also still maybe find a few more glasses. Because if anybody was around for 2017 and the great rush on libraries for solar eclipse glasses, you're going to want a few. Because I do, Crystal. There are some great places. The best part is because we're much more aware, and because most of us have fond memories of 2017 for glasses, I can give you a whole list. A lot of them are doing wholesale prices. So you might even be able to partner up with the school district or other smaller libraries near you and buy in bulk. But yeah, I'll give you a list. Right. If you don't have any glasses, you can't source glasses, you have a run on glasses, There are so many ways to still view. The funny part is my favorite one. I had to promise my husband that I wasn't doing anything weird when I sold the colander because, well, it's me and I've ruined a couple sieves that are no longer food safe. If you want to view the solar eclipse, all you have to do is put the sun behind you, hold this next to you so the sun goes through, filters through all of these little holes, and hold it up either to a piece of black asphalt or a piece of black paper, and all of these holes are going to turn into tiny little eclipse viewings, and you're actually going to see the crescent shape and then the 3/4, and then once the eclipse goes full dark, if you're in the path of totality, you can actually turn around and look, and it's just a colander and a piece of asphalt, which is kind of cool. That's probably I don't even know if that's the cheapest one because the next one's pretty cheap too. All you need, oh no, all you need are the 2 pieces of cardboard. Oh, the 2 pieces of cardboard that I cut. Index cards work great. Put your back so you're looking at the shadow, and all you need is a pin. You poke a hole in, a tiny hole, use your shadow, match up your shadow with the piece of paper you have a hole in, and again, that tiny pinhole that you've poked will let you view and reflect the entire sun and the entire eclipse. The toilet paper roll one that I have listed here, it's a little smaller. Also, I forgot that I needed toilet paper rolls and a box for today, and yesterday was recycle day, so I don't have any toilet paper rolls to use to show them. But this is a great tutorial. And again, I have a QR code and a bit.ly, so at the end of this, all of you will be able to either jot it down or send it out in an email, so that isn't a problem. If you can't write this down or the QR code doesn't work, don't worry, I got you. The best one to make is with a cardboard box. That's the fun one. And again, some individuals that I get to talk with that work with the planetariums said that the longer the box and the kind of skinnier the box, so like I know we don't have really fluorescent lights anymore, but if you have access to like the long skinny boxes the fluorescent lights used to come in, ooh, those would be perfect. And all you do is, again, poke one tiny hole with a pin and you cut out a little viewing flap, and you can just watch the whole thing through that one little pinhole. Like it sounds very, very high tech. You just need pins, some cardboard boxes, or some dollar store colanders, and it's a safe way and kind of a fun way because students get to build stuff to view the eclipse if you don't have any glasses. So it depends on where you ordered them. Maybe I see your comment. If you can remember where you ordered them, I can probably check. But yeah, it just depends. I do have a few, but I definitely don't have as many as I had in 2017. So we'll know more later. Yeah, I got mine from StarNet too. Last time I knew they had a few left, so definitely check with them. Okay, so now we get to my favorite part. Don't look at the sun. The reason it hurts when you look at the sun is because it's your way, your body saying, yo, it burns. Stop looking at the sun. Don't look at the sun on a normal day. Don't look at the sun when you're viewing an eclipse. The only caveat to that is if you're in the path of totality, when you finally get that full dark, you can take off your glasses and view, the sun being totally covered by the moon. But as soon as you see that little crack of light, put your glasses back on. If you have glasses left over and you are worried that maybe they're not still good, grab a flashlight, put it right up next to the glasses. If you can see any light whatsoever, those are no longer safe and they're probably no longer usable. If you do get some glasses and you're worried you don't have enough, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but cut them in half. So that way everybody's got a monocle, and make sure they cover one eye so that way they can still share and they can still see the full eclipse. You just only got one eye. Oh. Any questions on safety? Please don't look at the sun. Yes, believe it or not, we got the okay if, for instance, you have a redneck family and everybody welds. Yeah, you can use your welding helmet. And I just think that's fun where you can just be like, and then look at the sun. But yes, you can look at the sun with the welding helmet. Don't look at the sun without glasses on. Sunglasses do not work. I don't care how much people say they paid for them. I don't care how special they are. Sunglasses do not work. You need a special film over them to protect your retinas. Like sunglasses, no. Welding helmets, yes. And definitely eclipse glasses. So for Maine Eclipse info, the Gulf of Maine Research Institute, they just put up a phenomenal wealth of information. And that's very Maine specific, which is great. That's what we want. And the other thing is the Great American Eclipse. Anything that you've seen here, I probably stole from the Great American Eclipse or NASA. The Great American Eclipse is phenomenal. And hopefully, if I did it correctly, that specific bit.ly sends you to the main one. And it has times, dates, towns that it's going to go over. It's got so much information, even specific times, how long the totality is actually going to go through, because the closer you are to the center of that path through Maine, the longer you're going to have of complete totality. Does that make sense to everyone? Like, the closer you are to the middle, the longer you're going to get the party. Oop. There we go. All right, during the eclipse, don't run programs. Just enjoy it. Obviously, especially if you have a lot of littles, I might do like a short story time about shadows and maybe let them know, hey, this is what's going to happen. Because I know, like, as a 5-year-old, if suddenly, as soon as I get home from school, everything got dark, I would have freaked out a little bit. But other than giving them a little warning about what's going to happen and how it's going to be okay and how it's just science and it's just literally the moon shadow going over the state of Maine, don't really plan anything. Obviously, like, plan a get together, have people come to the library, you know, maybe if you're lucky enough to have like a bake sale at the same time, get some food, get some beverage, have a definite party atmosphere, but don't do any major programming, because you're going to want to experience this, because it's April in Maine. It may or may not be good weather. I'm not a big person for manifesting, but just keep thinking to yourself, it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be clear. Chris is going to get a full eclipse. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be clear. Going to get a full eclipse. I hope. But if it's a little cloudy, a solar eclipse is so much more than it just like the actual view. It's still going to get dark. The animals are still going to get quiet. The temperature will change. The barometer usually drops. Like, you're going to be able to not just see an eclipse, but experience it. And that's going to be one of the biggest things, like biggest takeaways, is it's more than just what you're going to be able to see. And also, I was sharing with someone just before, we were told by NASA, weird sentence to say out loud, we were told by NASA, if you are lucky enough that it tends to be a little cloudy, if you are somewhere in the vicinity of a large body of water in the path of totality, you have a better chance of the clouds going away. I still haven't figured out where I want to go. But Rangeley may be it. So I may be going to Rangeley Lake. But this is during the eclipse. Like, don't run anything. Have a party, invite people. I'm trying, Abby. I still don't know. I keep going back and forth. But like, just enjoy it. We're not gonna need another one. We won't get another one for at least 60-ish years as far as like a total eclipse. And I'm probably not gonna be around. So enjoy it and run with it. What's next? After the eclipse, what happens? For the most part, this is going to happen almost immediately after school. It starts hitting the border of Maine at like 3:28. Yeah, 3:28. So it's right after school. And, you know, share community pictures. Like, this is a statewide event. Collect and archive stuff. Like, we may or may not have a site set up where you guys can all post stuff and be like, hey, this is what happened and this is what I experienced and these are pictures I took and this was the event. Have an after party. Talk about it. What was cool? Why did it happen? Why did you like it? And then if you're lucky enough to have a lot of glasses, put them safely in an envelope. Don't put them in a safe space because, as everyone knows, when you put something in a safe space, you will never remember that safe space and they will be gone forever. So put them somewhere you will remember, because next year we're getting a near 50% coverage in March. So we're going to get another partial eclipse, which was like the one in 2017. So that'll be kind of cool. So does anybody have any questions? This is the bit.ly to this entire presentation. Feel free to use it if you have any questions. As always, that's my email. Feel free. It's all copy left. Does anybody have any questions? Trying to look through the chat. Have a good one, Abby. No questions? Just so you're aware, when we get closer, I'll be putting up YouTube videos on how to actually make everything. Oh, you mean, Andrew, do you mean taking photos or photos that you can use? Taking photos? Ooh, we talked about this earlier. Again, it's all about experiencing what you have going on. Don't take photos. Don't look at it through a camera lens, because unless you are very used to taking pictures of a solar eclipse and you have the correct filters, you could potentially ruin a very expensive camera and they're going to come out like crap. Like, they're not going to look as good as the professional photographers who follow these things around the world. So just find some really good photos off the internet that you can use and use those, and instead experience the eclipse. Oh yes, definitely take pictures, but make sure that you also get to experience the eclipse. Like, I know we're all librarians and we're very much like, we're going to do all the things, but I mean, again, it's once in 60-ish years, so make sure you get to experience it too. And that's the whole after party idea, where everybody can get together and they can say, hey, I took these photos, or hey, this is what I experienced. Because it's a statewide thing and it's going to be pretty amazing. I know for a fact that I can't remember if it's Presque Isle or Holton, but one of them actually canceled school because I think it's technically on a Monday, and it was mostly because they were worried that they couldn't get the kids home and they'd just be stuck on a bus. Was it Holton? I know that Presque Isle is still going back and forth. They're still not sure if they're going to cancel or not. Because as most of us know, you can't get there from here because there's one way up and one way down, and they're expecting anywhere from 40,000 to 50,000 people. How dark will it get? So it depends on if you are in the path of totality or not. If you're in the path of totality, it's gonna look like nighttime. The automatic lights in your city or your town will probably turn on. The animals are gonna get wicked confused, and it's gonna get quiet. The peepers might start peeping early. Well, it'll still be a little cold for peepers. But yeah, it's gonna get dark. It's not gonna be like, middle of December, no moon dark, but it's gonna get dark enough that it'll trigger the dark sensing stuff, which is gonna be kind of cool. If you're in partial, it depends on how much you have, but it's still gonna be pretty cool, pretty dark. And even if you're not in the path, please like run some programs, make sure the kids have stuff. So if they don't have the opportunity to go to someplace and view it, that they have something that they can use to view the eclipse at home. I think that's the biggest thing. Which is why I like either the two pieces of paper or the colander that, oh no, I've already lost. It's somewhere in this office. The colander. Any other questions? I always go through this stuff so fast and then I feel bad. Feel free to unmute yourself or put stuff in the chat. And again, this is just an overview of what to expect and what the eclipse is going to do, what's going to happen. The closer we get to April, the more I'm going to be pushing out fun stuff. Oh, and I also forgot. So this just came out. NASA's trying it, and unfortunately, the way I have my setup is that you're not seeing this, but it's the 2023 Eclipse Explorer. So this is for the partial eclipse that we might see that's happening in Texas. But this is a test run for what's going to happen next year. And again, it's science.nasa.gov. I'm going to add this in to the because I found this 10 minutes before I had to come on, of course. But it has, if you are motion sick, I apologize right now. Please look away, and we're good. It has actually got animations that go through and show you, like, this is where totality is. This is what the eclipse is going to look like. And we're hoping, fingers crossed, that they are going to do this for the 2024, which is going to be amazing. And again, I'll send this link and I'll put it in the PowerPoint. But I found it 10 minutes before we had to come on, so it's brandy new, and it's very, very cool. So, any questions? Any ideas? Any programming that you're thinking of running, or maybe something that you're planning on doing with your community? I think that's actually an excellent idea, Crystal. I mean, I'm If I was working, I would be running through the library being like, the eclipse is coming, the eclipse is coming. But again, that's because I asked for the day off 2 or 3 years ago. We also have some solar science kits that MSL got from StarNet, which are phenomenal, but they're not meant to be used the day of the eclipse. And that means that it's phenomenal to teach about the sun. And it's the only time I'm going to say use this telescope specifically to look at the sun. It's such a good telescope that you can actually see sunspots and protrusions. No, I need to remember that word, but it's basically the solar flare looking things that come off the side of the sun. You can see the corona. It's so cool. There are also sunoculars, which are binoculars specifically to look at the sun. Again, make sure your students know you can only look at the sun with these specific binoculars, but it's phenomenal. It's an awesome set, but it's not for the solar eclipse. It's just to teach students about the sun and about solar rays and about shadows. There's a great one for littles that talks about little bear in a shadow. We have little squishy suns and a little bear, and it's so well put together. Let me see. It is pretty far out, maybe, but you're still gonna get like 90% totality. So you're still gonna get an amazing show. It just means that you won't be able to take your glasses off in the middle of it. That's the only real difference. You'll get more of an annular eclipse as opposed to like a full total eclipse. So 90% is, it just means instead of everything being completely covered, so you can take off your glasses, you're still gonna get like a partial. So like, gonna look like this. Things I do on my basement board. So it's, I would say 90%, maybe a little less, 85. But you're still gonna get the eclipse. It's just not gonna completely cover out the sun, so you can't take your glasses off, which is fine. It's still gonna be cool. And it's still going to be much more than what we had in 2017. Much, much more. Yeah, it's going to be cool. I'm excited. Oh, Jennifer, that sounds amazing. And again, I think probably, especially for the littles, the biggest thing is that like, it's going to get dark in the middle of the afternoon, and that could be a little scary. And also, like, you might be lucky enough that it might be a pretty warm spring, so you can draw like shadow outlines on the parking lot to talk about shadows, make some chalk, plaster of Paris, some food coloring, temper paint. There's a lot of stuff that hopefully will be coming down the pipeline that I can send out to all of you. Any other thoughts or questions, things you're hoping to do, things you're thinking about doing? Any worries that you're not gonna, know enough science? Because it's just shadows. If you know how shadows work, you can talk about an eclipse. Oh, and if you want to talk about orbits, the $1.25 store totally has hula hoops right now. I know, because I have 2 of them over here. You can just kind of see them beneath the green screen. Any other questions, thoughts? Just quick. I want to thank you all for being here. Again, if you have any questions, everyone should know where to reach me, christina.dorman@maine.gov. I'll put it in the chat in just a second. So other than thank you all for coming, if you need me, ask questions, and we're going to do this a couple more times. And we're actually going to talk a little more in depth on how to make the pinhole cameras and why they work, and how to, you know, have an eclipse party. Like, there are fun things that you can do with an eclipse for food and snacks, and talking about shadows and just, you know me, general science STEM malarkey. We're gonna have a science party. So yeah, thank you so much for attending. And if you want to hang out and talk, that'll be great. And I'm gonna stop the recording.